Hey yo! The topic of this video is going to be about Marvel versus DC. Marvel versus DC. Marvel versus DC. So, you know, for Marvel, you can see like Spider-Man, Venom, and for DC, you got Batman here. Now, why am I making this video? This video seems so random and fucking retarded. Why would I make a video about like Marvel versus DC or whatever? What the fuck? Wow. What kind of video is this? What kind of video idea is this? It's because, I mean, Marvel and DC, these are like very big name brands. These are like fucking, these types of companies, they touch the entire planet now. Everybody knows about Marvel and DC and all the superheroes in these like that these brands have created and stuff like that. Marvel and DC cannot be understated how like influential Marvel and DC is. Marvel and DC, they are all over the globe. They have touched every part of the world. Marvel and DC, like these like very big name companies and brands and whatever you want to call them, like, because they started off as just comic book things. Like, wasn't Marvel and DC just about like comic books, and then they kind of expanded into like cartoons, animations, movies, video games, etc. It's kind of admirable. Marvel versus DC. It's so like interesting to compare these two very big name like companies. Whatever, are Marvel and DC a company? What are they? How would you like exactly like what terminology would you use to describe them? I don't know, but they're very big names and stuff like that, and they're very infamous. They're so infamous, and like they're everywhere around the planet. Everybody knows about Marvel and DC. Maybe a lot of people might not exactly know like the terminology of like Marvel and DC, but a lot of us, we do know about Batman, Spider-Man, Hulk, Iron Man, Avengers. All of these like superheroes, and so every person on this planet knows about like Batman, Spider-Man, these superheroes that have been in like our childhood since we were like younglings, young kids. Everyone has to have like at least some clue about like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, fucking any other type of man from these like big brand names, big name franchises and fucking whatever. Marvel versus DC. This is like so interesting to talk about. Such an interesting topic to talk about. Marvel versus DC. Marvel versus DC. This is so interesting. Marvel versus DC. Marvel versus DC. Because, you know, for starters, Marvel versus DC. Again, everyone on this planet right now has to have at least some clue about Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, all these superheroes and etc. You know, I don't even need to give you like much of like a detailed description on like what I'm talking about. Like Batman, you should know what that is. Spider-Man, you should know what that is. Hulk, you should know what that is. Iron Man, you should know what that is. All of these like superheroes, you should have a clue about what they are and who they are and what they're about. I shouldn't need to give you any type of like fucking any type of like explanation, description, what the fuck ever, because it's so like common sense. It's so common sense. It's like very, it's so like easy to like grasp what I'm talking about, because that's how infamous and notorious Marvel and DC are. These are like very Marvel and DC. These are like very big fat named. They're like gigantic companies and whatever. What are they companies? What are they? Publishers? What the fuck? How would you term them? I don't know. I'm just gonna say companies because they're sort of like a company or like a publisher or whatever. Marvel versus DC. That's the topic of this video. And to be quite honest, Marvel versus DC. Okay, what are you gonna talk about? Like, I'm just gonna really compare these like very like ginormous, gigantic publishers, comic companies, whatever. I don't know, because like, what are they? Are they Marvel and DC? Are they like a company? Or are they like a publishers or whatever? I don't know how to term them exactly, but they're very infamous, notorious. They're all over the globe, and they're like, what exactly can I say about them now? If you were to like compare them a little bit, I would say that Marvel versus DC. I would say that like, okay, what Marvel versus DC? What are you gonna do? Marvel versus DC? What are you gonna talk about? To be honest, Marvel versus DC, which of these two companies has had a more profound impact? I'm gonna say they're on like the same equal playing field, because everybody knows about Batman and everybody knows about Spider-Man. So Marvel and DC, they're probably as equally as influential as each other, Marvel and DC, in terms of like impacting the planet and impacting a lot of different types of cultures around the globe. Marvel and DC, they're probably super influential and stuff, and they did a lot and stuff and whatever. Marvel versus DC, they're very influential and stuff, and fucking it's very difficult to like properly talk about them. Marvel versus DC. How exactly can you like even begin to like talk about them? Because there's these two very infamous, notorious, big name companies are so fucking hell, they're so notorious. How could I even begin to talk about them? how can I even begin to talk about them? Marvel versus DC. Let's get to like for starters, like in terms of like influencing the globe, Marvel versus DC. I believe that Marvel and DC, they're like on the same playing field because everybody knows about Batman and everybody knows about Spider-Man, so they're on the same playing field in that regard. They're like on the same level in terms of like influencing the entire planet and all of humanity. Marvel versus DC. What else? In my opinion, like in terms of like my personal preferences and stuff, I believe that DC is far better than Marvel. That's just my personal preference. I believe Marvel is like very goofy. I don't know if that makes, obviously DC, like men dressing up and fucking going and beating people up, that's like but like Marvel and DC, like the concept of superheroes is goofy to begin with, but I just believe that Marvel is just so much more goofier, not as serious, is more dumber, I don't know, than DC. Detective Comics, DC. Batman, a lot more serious. Who else is other than Batman? Yeah, Batman's fucking, yeah, because of Batman, I don't know, I really feel closer to DC just because of Batman. I can just relate strongly to Batman and stuff, and associate more with Batman and DC compared to like Marvel and like Spider-Man. I know Spider-Man, some people have more of a preference for Spider-Man and whatever and etc and stuff, and some people, again, it's all subjective and like your own personal opinions and preferences. And just in my personal preference and opinion, I do believe that I much strongly prefer DC just because of Batman. Really, specifically, it is primarily due to Batman. And maybe, yeah, it really is just because of Batman. I don't know. Is it just because of Batman? Yeah, I think so. What other superheroes in the DC universe do I like? I don't know, not really a lot. It's Batman. I guess I prefer DC just because of Batman. He really like fucking completes like DC just because of Batman. I like DC more. Obviously for Marvel, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk. Maybe I do prefer Marvel. I like more heroes. Like there's more heroes in Marvel compared to like the superheroes in DC. For DC I only like Batman. That's it. I don't really give a fuck about Superman, Aquaman, Green Arrow, all these other shitty superheroes. Actually, maybe then I prefer Marvel compared to DC. The only DC thing I like is Batman. That's it. If it wasn't for Batman, DC would just be so shit. I'm telling you. But Marvel versus DC, I mean, they're both equally influential, equally great, equally as impacting the entire planet. Everybody knows about Batman, Spider-Man. Fucking think about that. Whoever's watching this video, you know about Spider-Man, Batman. I don't need to give you an introduction, much of a detailed description. That's like so fucking insane. Marvel versus DC, it's so insane to think about this. Like that, everybody around our globe, our planet, knows a little bit about Batman, Spider-Man, all these men that are super strong and they do amazing things. It's quite amazing, isn't it? Think about this, that Batman, Spider-Man, everybody knows about them. It's fucking insane. Marvel versus DC, like these big name companies, publishers, whatever you want to call it, they're probably as equally as influential, as equally as like impacting the planet, as equally as important. I don't know, it's very difficult to even like to try and attempt to talk about this. Marvel versus DC. For DC though, I only care about Batman. That's it. That's kind of funny. Other than Batman, I don't give a fuck about DC. Yeah, that's actually, for DC I only give a fuck about Batman. That's it. I don't really care about Superman. I don't care about all the other shitty heroes. Batman, literally, if it wasn't for Batman, DC would be like actually quite shitty. For Marvel, you know, you got Wolverine, you got the X-Men, you got the Avengers, you got Spider-Man, Iron Man. Actually, maybe I actually prefer Marvel compared to DC. The only thing I like about DC is Batman. If it wasn't for Batman, I believe DC would be so shit. If it wasn't for Batman. Batman's the only thing I like from DC. But anyway, Marvel versus DC, obviously. Actually, maybe I might take that back. Maybe Marvel I like more because Marvel, you got more like better like superheroes like Spider-Man, and you got like Iron Man, and you got Hulk, and what else? You got fucking Wolverine and all these. I do still prefer DC compared to Marvel. Fuck it, actually, I'm not gonna take it back. Yeah, DC, I like DC more than Marvel just because of Batman and stuff. And there's other superheroes as well, but primarily I'm just more like sentimental about Batman because I just really, when I was younger, Batman he was like sort of like a role model. I don't know, someone that you could like kind of look at and then you can like kind of take on like a lot of it, like the inspiration, a lot. He was like a role model that you can like kind of inspire to and stuff like that, and you can kind of relate to a little bit and stuff, and you can kind of like mimic him and kind of like aspire to be him and stuff. And he was like sort of like this male masculine ideal, like this strong masculine man that like has a mission and purpose and whatever, and he tries to fulfill that and his mission and purpose. He tries to do this as best as he could. with what's available, what technology and like what his personal strengths are. He tries to like push his own ideals. And Batman was like so like inspiring to me when I was like a lot younger and stuff. I don't know. I do feel strongly like closer to DC just because of Batman and stuff. Marvel is still cool, but I don't know. I just feel because of Batman, I just feel like DC's my shit, my personal preference. I just like the fact that Batman, DC, especially DC. I said previously that Marvel's a lot more goofier. Is it goofier than DC? I just sort of feel like it is goofier because with Marvel, a lot of the it's a lot more campy, a lot more colorful and stuff like that. A lot brighter. DC is a lot more darker, grimmer, and etc. and stuff, and a lot more brutal. It's a lot more, yeah, actually, maybe, fuck it, I take it back. Maybe I like DC more than Marvel, fucking hell, yeah. I like DC more than Marvel. Yeah, I'm not, maybe Superman's kind of, I don't know, Superman's not my cup of tea. I know, I used to watch a little bit about Superman, it's just not my cup of tea. The concept of Superman is so boring. A guy that has all these, like, super strengths, and he's so strong, and he can do whatever he wants. It's fucking, what the fuck, it's so boring. Batman kind of really seals the deal for me for DC. Yeah, just fucking, actually, no, I do prefer DC compared to Marvel. But anyway, other than my personal preferences, like, let's just talk about these like two very big name, big brand, influential companies. Everybody has a fucking clue about like Marvel and DC because these big name companies, these companies are so fucking influential. They're all over the planet. Everybody around the world has like a clue about these companies, Marvel and DC. Everybody knows about them. It's insane to me to think about this. Everybody has a clue about Marvel and DC. Everybody has a clue about Marvel and DC. These are like so massive. These are massively influential companies. Man, fucking hell, I can't fucking even like think about it. Imagine Marvel and DC did not exist. I'm not even kidding around. I believe our planet would be completely different. Our entire civilization, society, culture, everything would be so different if Marvel and DC, these big name companies, did not exist. Marvel and DC are like so fucking influential. You cannot like get around this, and fucking hell, the entire planet. Marvel and DC has touched the whole planet. It's fucking insane to me how influential Marvel and DC are. What else? What am I gonna talk about now? Yeah, man, fucking hell, Spider-Man, Batman. Everybody has a fucking clue about these superheroes. Because Marvel and DC, these companies, these brands, fucking hell, they fucked the entire planet with their their superheroes and stuff, and their like publishing and whatever, and their like creative work. It's fucking insane to me. Marvel and versus DC. In terms of personal preferences, I just like DC better than Marvel just because of Batman and stuff. Yeah, yeah. I feel closer to DC just because of Batman. Just because of Batman. Just because of Batman, I feel closer to DC. I do actually, not just because of Batman, but just DC. I said a little bit previously that Marvel is just a lot more goofier, stupider, not as serious as DC. Is that true? It seems to be true to me. I don't know. That Marvel is just a lot more goofier, stupider, not as serious as DC. I just fuck with DC a lot more, man. I fucking love DC. Batman, the whole Batman story arc and everything about him. And also there's other types of heroes in the DC universe are interesting. What other ones? I mean, I'm saying, well, yeah, maybe yeah, but for Batman, I don't know. I just really feel like very sentimental about Batman, but that's kind of like, anyway, Marvel versus DC, back to like the topic of this video. It's all like opinions and subjective, but I don't know, I just feel like I have my personal preferences. In terms of personal preferences, I just prefer DC. It's just a lot more serious, grimmer, darker. It's like that type of tone that's like more like serious and stuff. Marvel is just fucking a lot more goofier and stupider and stuff like that to me. That might just be my personal opinion. I don't know, it's more colorful. Isn't Marvel more colorful than DC? Marvel definitely is more colorful than DC. DC is just a lot more grim, darker, more serious. I fuck with that so much more. Marvel is fucking too colorful. That's just my opinion though. Marvel versus DC is all opinions and preferences, and it's up to you as the individual to decide. But in my opinion, I do believe that at least these are my personal preferences. DC is a lot better, in my opinion, compared to Marvel. Just because of my personal preferences. I just fuck with Batman more than I fuck with Spider-Man, Iron Man, whatever. Obviously these are my personal preferences, and you might have your own personal preferences, and I do hope that you do kind of like maybe even like share your personal preferences. Marvel versus DC, obviously these companies are as equally influential, as equally impacting the entire planet, as equally as important. I mean, come on, everybody knows about Spider-Man, and everybody knows about Batman, everybody knows about Batman, Spider-Man, all of these DC and Marvel superheroes, everybody has a clue about them. It's fucking insane to me to think about this. Very insane to me to think about this. Very, very insane to me to think about this. Marvel versus DC. Marvel versus DC. Marvel versus DC. They're as equally as influential, as equally impacting the entire planet. And I don't really have a lot more to say, you know, like they're equally as important. Marvel versus DC, but in terms of like personal preferences, I do feel closer to DC than I do to Marvel, because Marvel is kind of like a lot goofier, more colorful, not as serious. DC is a lot more serious, grimmer, darker, a lot better in that regard, in my opinion. Marvel versus DC, obviously opinions, I do believe that they're equally as important and good and etc. and influential, but man, fucking hell, Marvel and DC, all these like these companies that created all these fucking massively influential superheroes, Spider-Man, Batman, fucking hell, everybody knows about these superheroes, Spider-Man, Batman, Iron Man, Thor, all these superheroes, man, fucking hell. It's insane to me that these Marvel and DC, these two like companies, they literally grabbed the entire world and put it into its hand. Like these companies fuck the entire planet, man. It's quite insane to me to think about that. The fact that everybody knows about Spider-Man, everybody knows about Batman, everybody knows about Iron Man, Hulk, Wolverine, these fucking superheroes. Fucking hell, man. Marvel and DC, man, these companies, they've literally grabbed the entire planet by the balls, I don't know, or the clitoris, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. It's fucking, these companies are so massively influential, it cannot be understated. And everybody knows about Batman, everybody knows about Spider-Man, DC, Marvel versus DC, DC versus Marvel, Marvel versus DC. In terms of personal preferences, I do fuck more with DC just because of Batman. And maybe the question, I just feel more sentimental about DC because of like Batman and a lot of these other types of like heroes in the DC universe. Marvel's alright, Spider-Man, I don't know, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, fucking, to me, Marvel is just so much more colorful, goofy, stupider, not as serious and grim. DC is just a lot more fucking grim, darker, more serious, more like fucking emotional. I don't know how to exactly term it. I just fuck with DC more than Marvel. Okay, yeah, in terms of personal preferences, I fuck with DC more than Marvel. Marvel, some people might prefer Marvel. I don't know, it's all personal preferences, and you're entitled to your own opinion. But in my opinion, I think I like DC more. But anyway, regardless of my personal preferences, like Marvel versus DC, these are like both of these companies, they're as equally as influential and important and equally as have impacted the entire planet and beyond. And maybe, fucking hell, everybody knows about Spider-Man, Batman. I can keep going on and on. Really, Marvel versus DC, your personal preferences, you're entitled to your own personal preferences. In my opinion, though, I do believe that because of my personal preference, I like DC more than Marvel. I like the darker undertone, the darker, more serious storytelling of DC. Marvel, some people might fuck with Marvel. I'm just more of a DC guy. That's my opinion, though. And again, Marvel versus DC, these companies are fucking so influential. They've impacted the entire planet and perhaps beyond. And you cannot understate their influence in regards to our culture, in regards to like human culture and civilization and society and etc. and stuff. I can like keep talking about this, but you know, really, Marvel versus DC, I just feel more closer to DC, not Marvel, just because of Batman and stuff. And DC, typically DC, just more serious, less colorful, less stupid, less goofy. Marvel, some people might be closer to Marvel. I just feel closer to DC. I really do hope like DC, like a lot of like only Batman gets a lot of like the big movies and etc. and stuff. A lot of like there's so many like underappreciated like superheroes in DC. You know, The Question, and there's like a couple other ones that don't get any type of love. Man, it's fucking so sad to me. DC needs to like fucking work on like its other superheroes. Only Batman gets all the love, man. It's fucking so dumb. Batman, Superman. Who else? Nobody else gets like this type of very special treatment, and that's what Marvel. That's what's good about Marvel. Marvel, they care about all of their superheroes. All the superheroes get like, they get elevated and they get all the big movies and stuff. Deadpool, Deadpool was like a no name, and then he got like a big movie. For DC, they don't do that. They don't like to question all these like superheroes in the DC universe. They don't get any type of special treatment. It's fucking sad to me. But Marvel versus DC, in terms of personal preferences, I just feel closer to DC. But obviously, this is all subjective and opinions. Obviously, though, Marvel versus DC, these are like, they're as equally as influential and important and have equally impacted the entire planet. Everybody knows about Spider-Man. Everybody knows about Batman. I don't want this video to be too long, and that's about it.